The movie begins in Spain in 1981. There's a wedding taking place in a church, and we see the marriage ceremony of Adolf and Lola. Soon we learn that Lola is pregnant with twins, and the couple starts thinking about names for their babies. Adolf suggests naming them Adam and Eve, and they laugh together. After the ceremony, they walk outside where everyone is happy for them and congratulates them. But the joy suddenly turns into shock when people start staring at Lola with fear. Adolf looks at her and realizes she's bleeding. At the hospital, Lola wakes up and sees a cross hanging from the ceiling. The doctor comes in and tells them that the baby didn't survive, and because of the heavy bleeding, Lola suffered complications that will prevent her from getting pregnant again. She apologizes and leaves the room. Lola breaks down crying, and Adolf is devastated as well, but he tries to comfort her and hold her. 6 months later, we see Lola taking sedatives because her mental state is still fragile after what happened at the hospital. Adolf notices this and becomes worried, as her face looks pale and her emotional state is getting worse. He's willing to do anything to help her feel better. Lola then tells him she wants to leave the house, but Adolf refuses, insisting that this is the home where he spent his childhood, and that his children should grow up in the same house he was raised in. He tells her their problem isn't the house. Lola then says that the doctor told her she can never have children again, so he shouldn't bring up the subject of kids in front of her anymore. Adolf suggests they adopt a child from the convent, but Lola refuses. Even with all his attempts to convince her, she insists on saying no. Right before he leaves for work, he tells her he can't keep living with her like this. Lola stays home thinking about what her husband said, and slowly starts to accept it. Later, they go to the convent and meet the nun, who seems nervous around them because she believes young people these days have no morals. Adolf reassures her and tells her that Lola actually grew up in a convent. The nun shows them around the place, explains when it was built, and says they raise orphans, abandoned children, and children with disabilities, giving them the best education possible. As they walk, Lola becomes uneasy when she notices a statue with a broken arm, as well as children with deformities and missing body parts. She gets scared and walks into the church. Meanwhile, Adolf asks the nun about the adoption process, and she tells him that once he makes a donation, everything will be taken care of. Adolf tells her he already brought the donation, but then notices Lola is gone. He finds her inside the church, listening closely to the music. The nun explains that the music is being played by 2 7-year-old twins. Lola asks to see them, and the nun calls them over, introducing them as Tin and Tina. She says she found them at the convent's doorstep when they were just 2 weeks old, and that they're very special children. Adolf is surprised by their names because they don't sound Spanish, and the nun explains they were named after a saint of the convent. They get to know the children, and suddenly lightning and thunder strike. The twins panic and run to Lola, hugging her. She comforts them and tells them it's just a storm. Adolf interrupts and reminds her they need to find a child to adopt, but Tin and Tina hold on to Lola, asking her to stay and listen to their music. Lola tells them she would love to hear them, but she has to leave for now. As she walks away, Tina tells her brother not to be upset because no one loves them. Lola is deeply affected by this. Her husband tells her that what she's thinking is not a good idea because the kids are older, but Lola says that children need love and care, just like they do, and they all could become one family. Adolf asks if she's sure, and Lola nods while looking at the twins, who are now smiling because someone finally wants them. They adopt them, and later we see them driving home. Adolf turns on the radio, and the loud music makes the twins upset. They call it devil's music, so Adolf turns it off. The kids start singing and enjoying the ride until they arrive at the house. Lola introduces them to her dog, but the twins get scared, and the dog begins barking at them in a strange, unnatural way. Adolf takes them to see his small airplane and explains that he uses it to travel everywhere. The twins ask how far the convent is from the house, and he says it's about 15 minutes by car. Then they ask how long it would take to walk there. Adolf finds the question odd but tells them it would take about an hour. He opens the door to the house, and the kids are amazed by how big it is. They run around excitedly to explore it. Lola goes after them and is shocked to find them inside the room she had prepared for her unborn twins years ago. She becomes upset and tells them this isn't their room, then takes them to see their actual room. Later, they go downstairs for dinner. Adolf is surprised when he realizes this is the first time the twins have ever seen a television. The kids thank them for adopting them and give Adolf a gift shaped like a crown, telling him he freed them from sin. They give Lola a necklace, saying it will protect her from evil as long as she wears it. They sit down to eat, but Adolf notices the kids aren't eating. When he asks why, they explain that they must say a prayer of thanks before eating. They pray, then begin eating. Lola seems worried about something but keeps it to herself. After dinner, Lola takes them to their room. Tina asks her why she chose to adopt them, and Lola tells her that the doctor said she would never be able to have children again. But Tina says that God can do anything and that nothing is impossible for him. While Lola was unpacking their bags, she found statues and crosses inside. She was confused and asked them why they brought those things with them. They answered that they protect them from the devil. Lola grew even more confused, left the room, and walked away. The next morning, she woke up to something hitting the window. When she looked outside, she saw Tin and Tina playing with a slingshot. She went downstairs and made them breakfast. They asked her to say a prayer of thanks, but she refused, saying she wasn't used to doing that. Tina told her she had to be religious and even recited a verse from the Bible. She added that they could see miracles and could make her see one too, but only if she promised to stay seated and not move. Lola laughed and promised she wouldn't move. Then Tina grabbed a bag, stood behind her brother, and started suffocating him with it. Lola panicked at what she was seeing. Moments later, Tin raised his hand and the bag lifted off him. He said he had seen the Lord, who commanded him to perform a miracle for her, and he was sure the miracle would happen. Then the kids started playing, throwing jam at each other until they were completely covered in it. Later, they went to school, where the teacher introduced them to the class. But one of the boys made fun of them, saying they were vampires because they lived in a big old mansion. When they returned home, Tina saw Lola sewing and asked her to teach her. Lola handed her the needle and let her try. Tin then asked if they were really Dracula's children, and why they were different from the other kids. Lola smiled and said she was different too. Then she showed them her prosthetic leg and grew emotional as she started telling them her story. She said that when she was little, she was traveling with her parents in the car. One time she was asleep, then woke up to find fire everywhere and her legs burning. She managed to escape and save her own life, but her mother and father couldn't make it and died in the accident. When Adolf came home, the kids ran to him excitedly. That night, Lola was in the kitchen and noticed crosses hanging on all the doors. She went upstairs and asked Adolf if he put them there. He said no, and suggested maybe the children did it. Lola told him the kids were obsessed with religion and seemed to believe they spoke with God all day long. Adolf wasn't surprised and said it made sense since they were raised in a convent. Lola went upstairs and found the kids awake. They asked her to play a game called The Battle of Angels, and promised they would go to sleep afterward. Lola agreed. Tina explained the rules. Lola had to close her eyes while they read a passage from the Bible over her. When they finished, she would count to 3, open her eyes, and start looking for them. Lola stood still and closed her eyes. Tina began reading to her, then they played and hit her with pillows. After that, they shut off the lights. Lola asked if they were starting a new game, but suddenly they attacked her, put a bag over her head, and began suffocating her. They told her she was about to see the Lord and that she had to make a wish. Lola couldn't breathe and started choking. But the kids removed the bag, saying the Lord would appear now. Instead, Adolf walked in, saved her, and took her back to the room. Lola was terrified. After she calmed down, Adolf reassured her. She told him she was okay, but he wanted to punish the children so they wouldn't do anything like that again. She refused because, in her view, they were just kids and thought they were playing. Adolf called them in, and they came to apologize. Tina said they had sinned and deserved punishment. She explained that at the convent they used to get hit with a stick whenever they sinned, and the nun once cut their hair because they committed a big sin. She said they needed to be punished to feel at peace. Suddenly, the dog started barking at them in that strange way again. Lola tried to calm him, but he bit her and ran away. The next day at school, the kids were sitting on the swing. Tina was swinging and encouraging her brother to be brave like her. Then the bully showed up with his friends and started mocking Tin and Tina, pushing them on the swing against their will. That night, they watched a horror movie on TV. Then they went outside and put on masks that looked just like the ones from the movie. Tina took a sedative from Lola's room and mixed it into the dog's food. When the dog fell asleep, they dragged him inside, grabbed knives from the kitchen, and killed him while laughing, covered in blood. Tina then stitched up the dog's belly, and said she was sure they would all be happy with the surprise. The next morning, Adolf and Lola woke up to find the children standing in front of them, drenched in blood. Lola thought they had played with jam again, but Adolf said it definitely wasn't jam and asked the kids what happened. Tina said the dog had sinned by biting their mother Lola, so he had to be punished. They purified his soul, but he wouldn't wake up. They all went downstairs and were shocked by what they saw. Lola collapsed in tears, holding the dog. And when the kids realized they had actually killed him, they cried too and hugged Adolf. Adolf was in shock, but he said it was an accident, and took the dog outside to bury him in the garden. Lola cleaned the blood from the house, thinking deeply while watching the children pray over the dog's grave. Adolf walked in and told her to forgive them because they didn't understand what they had done. But she remained worried and said that next time they might open his stomach. Or hers. Adolf cut her off, saying they're just little kids who need a mother to teach them right from wrong. He left. That night, Lola woke up to the sound of crawling outside her room. She stepped out and found the children with cloth tied around their legs, crawling on their knees with sharp objects inside the cloth. They kept fainting from the pain. She rushed to them, took them to the bathroom, treated their wounds, and begged them never to do that again. Tin then asked her if praying all day would make the dog wake up again. Tina was about to respond, but Lola interrupted her and said because she wasn't religious, that they shouldn't take the Bible literally, that the stories in it were imaginary, and that they shouldn't believe in demons. But the children didn't believe a word she said. On Christmas Day, the kids were playing happily. Adolf walked in, hugged them, and told them he had been traveling and met Santa Claus, who gave him gifts for them. He handed them the presents, and they were overjoyed. After that, Adolf sat with Tin. He was feeling sleepy, but he still wanted to watch the celebration that would start at midnight, so he tried to stay awake. In the kitchen, Tina was busy, and Lola asked her to put something on the cake. Tina went to get it from the drawer, but Lola stopped her because there was rat poison inside, and she was shocked that it was even there. Lola then took the food outside to serve them, but on her way back she suddenly felt weak and collapsed to the ground. Adolf rushed to her, carried her, and took her to the hospital. When she woke up, the doctor came in and told her she was pregnant. Lola was shocked because she believed she couldn't have children, but the doctor said it was a miracle and left. At that moment, Lola and Adolf were overjoyed, returned home, and celebrated the baby. A long time later, we see the children heading to the church to sing there. But the bully appears and starts bothering Tin and Tina. Tin wants to hit him, but Tina stops him and tells him the bully will get what he deserves. Then we move to the church, where Lola searches for Tin and Tina but can't find them. After the singing ends, she is surprised when the priest thanks Tin and Tina for their performance. Suddenly, the bully walks in injured and collapses on the floor. Later at home, Lola receives a call from the bully's mother, who tells her that her son is unconscious and in critical condition between life and death. His friends said he had been talking to Tin and Tina before falling off the cliff, and she suspects them. Lola goes to the convent and asks the nun if the children have ever hurt anyone before because she suspects they committed a sin, but she has no proof. The nun tells her Tin and Tina are very special children and would never do such a thing, and that Lola is the one with the problem, and she needs to return to the right path and leave the darkness she's living in. Lola returns home, waits for the kids to fall asleep, then enters their room and takes their Bible. She's shocked to find a drawing of them slaughtering the dog, and another drawing of them standing next to the bully lying on the ground. She takes the drawings to Adolf and tells him she suspects they hurt the poor boy. But Adolf doesn't believe her and says maybe they just hated the bully because he picked on them, and that she has been unable to forgive them since the dog's death. Then he walks away. The kids wake up and notice the Bible is missing and all the drawings on the wall are gone. They go tell Lola, and they see her putting things inside a box. She forbids them from practicing religion and threatens that if they go near the box, she will send them back to the convent. They get scared and obey her. The next day, Lola wakes up and sees Adolf playing with the kids. Suddenly, they all stare at her in confusion as her hair begins to fall out. She goes to cut it and says the kids are taking revenge on her, but her husband convinces her it's just a normal pregnancy symptom. Later that night, Lola calls the bully's mother to check on him, only to be shocked when she tells her he has died. The news terrifies Lola and makes her even more anxious. She asks Adolf to stay with her and not go to work, but he reassures her that she'll be fine and that she'll find him next to her when she wakes up. He says goodbye to the kids and asks them to prepare a surprise for Lola to cheer her up. The next day, Lola wakes up to find herself tied up. Tin removes her prosthetic leg while laughing. Tina brings her a cup of milk and tells her it contains a magical substance that will help the baby come out faster. Lola refuses to drink it, so Tin grabs a syringe, fills it with milk, and wants to feed the baby by force. Lola begs them to let her go and warns them that God will punish them, but Tina reminds her that she banned religion in the house. Lola manages to free her hands, runs to the kitchen, and grabs a knife, just as Adolf walks in. She tells him the kids tried to poison her, but they insist it was just milk. Later, Lola gives birth, and when she wakes up the nurse brings her the baby, a boy. They all celebrate, and the kids kiss him and say he must be baptized. Adolf agrees, but after 1 week. The next day, the kids are playing in the pool. They later go to Adolf and ask him to baptize the baby, but he isn't paying attention. So they go and take the baby themselves. Meanwhile, Tim opens the box, takes the Bible, and they head to the pool to perform the baptism. But luckily, Lola walks outside, sees them, and saves the baby at the last second. Adolf grabs the Bible from them and burns it, then returns them to the convent. After some time, they're sitting at a restaurant. Lola says she feels guilty and that she wronged the kids, but Adolf tells her to focus on their baby now and forget about the other two. On the drive home, Adolf is speeding, and suddenly he sees a child in front of the car. He brakes immediately, but the child disappears. They continue driving until they reach the house. Lola gets out with the baby and finds the door open, so she closes it. The TV loses signal, and Adolf goes to fix it. Lola hears someone singing. She follows the sound until she finds a recorder playing and turns it off. A storm begins, and the power goes out. Lola hears someone calling her name, so she steps outside and sees lightning strike Adolf. She runs to help him, but he collapses on the ground, engulfed in flames, and stumbles back into the house. Lola desperately searches for anything to help him, but the fire spreads quickly. She runs upstairs to get the baby, but he's gone. She cries and enters Tin and Tina's room, where she finds their bag. She puts it over her head, trying to suffocate herself, wishing she could find her son. When she removes the bag, she hears a baby crying in her room. She rushes there, finds her son, and escapes the house before collapsing. Lola wakes up in the hospital. The nun visits her and tells her it's a miracle she got out of the burning house with her baby, but sadly Adolf died because of the lightning strike. Lola asks if Tin and Tina were at the house last night, but the nun tells her they were at the convent the entire day, and that Lola had wronged them. Lola feels deep guilt and cries. In the end, we see that she brings Tin and Tina back to live with her again after realizing she had misjudged them. And this is where the movie ends. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel.